This morning, I want to talk about sunk costs. Sunk costs, as you'll probably remember, are those expenses you have already made and cannot possibly recover. Why is this important? Well, all too often, even rational people, even people who know about sunk costs, take sunk costs into account when making decisions, when in reality, sunk costs should be ignored. For example, say you're trying to decide whether or not to purchase a new car or to sell your old car. It doesn't matter how much you've already spent to repair your old car. That's actually irrelevant when making your decision. It's a sunk cost. It's already happened. It doesn't make any difference going forward. All that matters are the costs you're going to incur in the future. So the sunk cost fallacy is our tendency, our natural tendency, and we all do this, to take into account these past costs and expenses when we make a decision about what to do in the future. Here are some common examples. When trying to decide whether or not to keep an investment or sell it, people often take into account how much they purchased the investment for, how much they purchased the stock for example. In reality, that doesn't really matter. What matters is what the stock is going to do in the future, not what it did in the past or how much you spent on it in the past. I already mentioned buying or selling a car. The same thing goes with buying or selling a home. As you know, I'm very frustrated with our home and how much it has cost to repair and update since we moved in 3 years ago. I often tell Kim that, oh man, maybe we should just move. And think of how much we've already spent on the house. In reality, how much we've spent in the past doesn't matter when making the decision about whether or not to move. What matters is how much we think we're going to spend in the future. Here's another example of the sunk cost fallacy in action. Recently, because I've lost so much weight, I have been purging my wardrobe. I've been going through my wardrobe, incorporating back in my skinny clothes and getting rid of some of my fat clothes. I'm having to decide, okay, which items do I keep, which do I get rid of? And my natural tendency is to think, oh, I shouldn't get rid of this shirt. It was very, very expensive. But I can get rid of this one because I bought it at Costco for $9. In reality, how much I paid for a piece of clothing, that shouldn't factor into my decision. What I should be considering is, will I wear this? Does it look good on me? Do I like the item? How much I spent in the past doesn't matter. I should be looking at my closet and saying, oh, these are the clothes I like, these are the clothes that I don't. And that's how I should make my decision, not based on my sunk costs. People have a tendency to fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy when it comes to time also. When deciding whether or not to continue doing something, people think about how much time they've already spent at a project. When in reality, the amount of time they've already spent doing the thing doesn't really matter. The only thing that really matters is how much time they're going to invest in the future. Now, this is also true with relationships. A lot of times people stay in relationships that have become toxic because they know how much time they've invested in the relationship. Oh, I've been in this relationship for 10 or 12 years. I've been friends with this person, or I've been dating them, or I've even been married to them for 10 or 12 years. Think of all that time. I don't want to think of that as a waste. Well, the amount of time you've spent in a relationship doesn't really matter. What matters is whether it's going to be a productive, fruitful relationship moving forward. I'm thinking about sunk costs today because I, just like everybody else, fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. In my case, I've been spending a lot of time working on the Get Rich Slowly website recently. I've been working through our backlog of articles. When I repurchased the site in 2017, we had over 5,000 articles in the blog archives. We've managed to whittle that down to 2,500, but that's through the work of my partner, Tom, not through my own work. As of November 1st, so about 10 days ago, we had 2,501 articles in the Get Rich Slowly archives. That's a lot of articles. Not all of those need to be there. Tom has been asking me for 2 years now to go through the archives and evaluate which articles are important and which can be cut. But I've been reluctant to do so, and a large part of this is because I know how much time I spent writing these articles. I think, oh my gosh, think of the hours and hours of time I dedicated to them. Do I really want to get rid of my babies here? Well, this is just me falling victim to the sunk cost fallacy. In reality, it doesn't matter how much time I spent writing these in the past. It doesn't matter how successful the articles were in the past. All that matters is, do they contribute to the health of the site now? Do they help readers who find Get Rich Slowly? Do they help them solve their financial problems? And in many cases, the answer is no, and I should get rid of them. I should ignore everything that has come before and think only about, is this article useful in the future? I'm pleased to say that over the past 10 days, I've managed to whittle those 2,501 articles. I've managed to evaluate 1,300 of those now. And about half of those are just, we're gonna relegate them to the dustbin. They're going in the trash. They don't serve a purpose anymore. I've got another 1,200 articles to evaluate. And then after I've evaluated every article, it is time to actually merge or remodel or refresh the articles we decide to keep. So there's a lot of work ahead. But I've only made this progress because I've finally decided to ignore sunk costs. And this is something that's valuable in many cases when you're paralyzed by indecision. A lot of times you're paralyzed because you are taking into account the past costs, the expenses that you've put into an object, or the time you've spent on a project or a relationship. When in reality, what you need to be doing is considering the future and not the past.